the Mark Edge Show here at the Libertarian National Convention, and it's brought to you by Salt Lending, and I'll tell you more about that here coming up soon. But I've got with me a good friend, the wife of my former business partner, Ian Freeman. This is Bonnie Freeman. Her name isn't Ian. And Bonnie, I wanted to bring you on just in case some of my listeners didn't know about this situation, and I wanted to talk about it briefly. There was an event to set our people free or something a couple of nights ago, and tonight the enemies of the state is going on, and we're going to be asking people to sign petitions and rally for many prisoners, crypto prisoners, among them your husband, Ian Freeman. Tell me what happened that morning in March of 2021.
So in March 16th, 2021, the feds and actually the post office and the ATF and the IRS raided our house, and local police raided our house at 6 a.m.-ish, or maybe like right before 6 a.m. in order to serve Ian a warrant saying that he had, I think it was like 23 charges at the time for running an unlicensed money transmitter business, chief among the charges at the original warrant.
Yep.
And I just woke up to a boom, and Ian and our roommate at the time and me are just immediately walking towards the boom. And I honestly, my first thought was that some teenagers broke a window, because there is a peace flag outside the house, and I had heard stories of teenagers sometimes stealing the peace flag as a joke. Nothing like that had happened since I moved in, because I only lived with Ian for like 2 months at the time. But that was my first thought, and I was just kind of walking behind Ian to see what would happen. And all of a sudden I hear, "This is the FBI, put your arms up." Oh yeah, the FBI was there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I said that, sorry.
I don't know. I mean, it's just this coalition of government bureaucrats. And they shattered this 150-year-old front pane window that was there in the studio. They flew a drone in. There was 2 Bearcats, and these are effectively civilian tanks. And it was just
But the police in Keene own those tanks, so.
Well, one was from Concord, one was from Keene.
Okay,
yeah,
that makes
they
sense.
drove one in special for you.
Wow, so one of the ones from Concord is the one that Cantwell said that they were going to use against Free Staters. That never occurred to me then. Yeah.
They certainly intended to.
So they broke down our windows, like you said, and the FBI agent that was yelling, he had his gun and like his head, face covered, of course, stuck into the window, yelling at us, pointing the gun at us, telling me to put my dog down. And I had to walk downstairs, and I had to put on shoes, which were Ian's shoes. They were filled with like this really old glass. Like he said, they make glass nowadays. I think the word is tempered to where when it breaks, it's not so sharp. It's still obviously sharp, but back 100-something years ago, they didn't do anything like that. So it breaks into worse shards. So I had shards of glass in my feet for weeks just because they told me to put on shoes for no good reason. And I was trying to tell them it's Ian's shoes, and they just started screaming at me, put on the shoes. And
put on the shoes!
Yeah, literally, with a gun in my face.
Yeah.
And then they flew a drone into the window, and it was so loud. I thought, there's a chainsaw next to me. Where is it? And so this drone flew into the window, and it's like this big with its wings floating right in my face. And I didn't know. And it literally like went up and down, like it was looking at me. And I didn't.
Oh, it was.
Yeah. And I didn't know if it had like guns on it, is what I'm thinking. It wasn't like upstairs, I think. And they told me to go outside. They handcuffed me, and I had my own little FBI agent. They made my dog run around in the dark, and he's like a little chihuahua. And there's
I'm so glad he didn't get lost. I mean, that was really
or just hit by a car.
Rude, right?
Yeah. It was just senseless, because I was never under arrest. And as soon as I came to my senses, I was like, okay, what do you do in this situation? And I asked, am I being detained? And the FBI agent said, you're not being detained, you're being restrained until we can find out if there's anything in the house that's going to hurt you. And I was like, well, there's not. And he asked me.
I was in the house, so you took me out. The things that are going to hurt me are out here.
Them, sorry. Okay. I said you. If there's anything in the house that's going to hurt them, because, you know, they have to be totally safe while they destroy people's lives and property and just point guns in their faces and stuff. So
that's an interesting point, is that, you had every right to be in that house at any time during this investigation. They have no right to remove you from your house. They may have a warrant for the house, but they don't have a warrant to restrict your freedoms surrounding it.
they had no arrest warrant for me.
Right. You were not in any way affected. And it's just kind of funny how the social pressure gets you outside, and, there's the drones and all that stuff. Right. All those things. But I remember Free Talk Live has been raided more than once. The previous raid, I said, I work here. This is my place of work, and you can't keep me out. And they let me in.
Wow.
So I just walked in while they were, ripping up computers and doing all the things that they were doing. So Ian went to trial. When was that?
December 2022.
And they changed almost all the charges except for the money transmitting charge.
Yeah.
Everything had been dropped.
Everything.
And new things brought in.
Yeah, they had charged him with some that actually had involved fraud. They dropped all of those. They had no evidence for anything involving fraud. So the fact that they can go around, you can Google Ian Freeman and the government can say that Ian was convicted of fraud.
Well, he's a convicted fraudster.
They get to say that. And I've raised it with his lawyers, and they're like, oh, since it's a colloquial term, they just get to say that. If somebody on the street said that about me, I feel like I could sue them, but not the prosecution of the United States, not the U.S. prosecutors, attorneys and everything.
Yeah, the lawyers do not want to sue civilly on this, I can assure you. They just don't want to talk about it. And there's so many civil violations that went on during this. Not the least of which was the Fifth Amendment rights of all of our listeners who were able to call in 7 nights a week for many years, and then the show's taken off the air because some federal agent decides to play with the cords in the back of the broadcast stack. What are you doing, dude?
Yeah, they unplugged things senselessly that they had no right to go and unplug. It had nothing to do with the warrants. That just took the show off the air for a day, but luckily we had a lot of tech-savvy people left that weren't arrested, and they got it back up the next day.
Kind of. I mean, the audio was really bad for a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of this stuff is hard to remember.
Yeah, indeed it is. But we were doing a show. It was some of the worst audio we'd ever had out on the radio. The podcast was still being recorded nonetheless.
Yeah, so we were online the day of the raid, and I was on Free Talk Live the day of the raid, so.
It's true. We managed to pull it off. It was crazy times. So Ian was convicted at trial in December 2022 of all 8 of the charges that they had at that time. Interestingly, at the sentencing, call it 9 months later, 10 months later, all this time, he's just sitting there. He's not running away. They're calling him a flight risk and all kinds of stuff. He hasn't run away. He goes back for sentencing. The judge claws back one of the charges. He says, nope. And this is so rare. Judges never do this.
After a jury convicts?
Yep. But he decided that the jury was legitimately convicted him on 7 charges, but not this one, which seems very strange to me. If a jury's, stands the law and convicts somebody for something that they didn't do, then how can you say the other 7 convictions are right? Well, I guess it didn't matter. What was it? Boston in 2024 that the first appeal to the first district occurred. And many months later, those judges, they just said everything was fine at trial, which was crazy.
It seems crazy that at the very least, the jury wasn't poisoned by a charge getting to them to deliberate on that should have never gotten to them, because the judge said the prosecution never showed any evidence for that charge.
Right. They should have, right. He should have, the judge himself, if he was going to say that, should have said it before the jury went back to deliberate. Mm-hmm. And then the jury's deliberation would have seemed far more legitimate. Another interesting point is 4 of his charges were tax evasion. Tax evasion is the highest level of tax fraud there is. And to have tax evasion, you must have a tax burden. You must owe taxes, and they must know how much taxes you owe. The IRS agent sat on the stand, and when asked, so my client may not have a tax burden and he may owe nothing. Is that correct? She said, yes. So I just don't understand how those 4 charges made it through. And I don't understand how they made it through the appeals. I don't understand how they made it through to the Supreme Court. I don't understand any of this stuff. But all of Ian's post-conviction relief is exhausted.
Yeah.
And we're basically waiting on Trump.
He said he ended the war on crypto, but I don't know if he knows that Ian and Samurai Wallet guys, Keanu Rodriguez and William Hill. Yeah, so it's Bill Hill.
Okay.
They're the Samurai Wallet guys. At least you could definitely just type in the Samurai Wallet guys and find that they're serving 5 years in prison for similar things to Ian. They just created a service and the government didn't like it. And so they're still in jail. Ian is in jail for at least 2.5 more years out of an 8-year sentence for selling Bitcoin. So
we're hoping that when Trump supposedly is going to give 250 pardons for the 250 anniversary of the U.S., and I think that's a great thing to do, because I can assure you there are more than 250 people in federal prison that need to get out, whether they're innocent or whatever the situation is. If you believe that everybody sitting in prison is guilty, you are a fool. So
you need to go just attend court in your local area.
Court case.
Yeah, just go watch court. You're allowed to do that. It's public, so.
Yeah, I got to say that watching this court case really ruined it for me for the judicial branch. I thought the judicial branch and I couldn't have any worse of a relationship, but juries, 12 ignoramuses deciding on the outcome of your case. It's just ridiculous.
Yep.
They've just watched Law and Order too much. It's too corrupt. And sorry, I don't know what the solutions are other than stay the hell out of these people's jurisdictions. Just get away from them. They're too crazy. Isn't there some situation where Ian can take a drug treatment class, which is, by the way, as his business partner of 20 years, is hilarious to me, that he could take some kind of drug treatment class and get out a little early?
Yeah, it's actually a pro tip for if you're ever arrested by the feds. They asked Ian if he did any drugs, and he just honestly answered, I smoke weed. And that qualified him to take a drug class where they tell you drugs are bad. And it takes a year, but you get a year off your sentence. Or let's say it takes 8 months, you'll get 8 months off your sentence. But for Ian, it's going to be a year. So he elected to take the class, so that's happening soon.
There's your pro tip. If you ever get arrested on a federal level, do not deny having done drugs. And I don't see any reason to deny it once you've been convicted on the state level either. I don't have any answers as far as that goes, but I do know that some states have some drug treatment classes, and maybe you can get a little time off as a result. But, once you're that far in, who cares?
And even if it's a drug charge, there's no drug charge for saying, yeah, I smoke weed sometimes. That's not the same thing as possession. That doesn't get...
It's not admitting anything.
Yeah, nothing illegal. Or it is admitting something illegal, but there is no charge for it. You can go up to a cop and say, I just smoked weed, and they can't do anything about it if you don't have it on you.
Nobody arrested Bill Clinton, right? So when do you think, barring Trump giving a pardon, if he does, when do you think Ian will be out of prison? I
think early 2028.
Okay.
And he went in October 2023, and he had already done 2 months pre-trial.
And that's about what we said is 4.5 years off of 8. Everybody always asks me, how is Ian holding up? And my answer to them is, Ian's fine. You really got to think about Bonnie, because Bonnie has all the burden of dealing with all the things that Ian kind of left going on. How is it going for you? Answer the question, how's Bonnie doing?
I'm doing pretty good because I live in New Hampshire, so I have tons of friends and social things to do all the time and lots of support. Yeah, I got like hundreds of messages and calls from people when Ian went to jail, or at least 100. And I don't think that happens to many people whose husband goes to jail. You know what I mean? There is always activism to be done, things to keep yourself busy. And I'm doing Free Talk Live, which I love to do. And I also just feel that it needs to be kept alive. So I feel like I have purpose, and I visit Ian often, especially when he was in Massachusetts before taking the drug class. I would visit him twice a week, and we get to like sit outside. He's not behind a wall or anything like that because he's in camp, luckily. So we are both really good at staying positive. I think Ian is even better at staying positive because it's like, I've told him if I went to prison, it would be worse for me. And if he went to prison, it would be worse for me. Like, both situations are worse for me.
Yeah,
because
true.
It's just true because he is so great at staying positive and continuing to be productive. And he's meditating every day. and reading, and it's a spiritual retreat, but it's also unjust and he should be out with his family. So I don't want to make it sound too good.
Yeah.
Like it's like great. It's not great. He's just better than you at staying positive.
Yeah, it's almost a mental illness how positive that dude can be. Yeah, I really hope that he gets out soon, and I can't wait for that to happen. And yeah, I hope the best for your family. What can people do to find out more and support?
They can go to freeIanNow.org and sign the petition, which helps us get a bigger number of people who sign the petition up in front of Trump's face if he sees the petition. Like, we don't want to give him a petition. It says like 3 signers signed. Obviously, it's more than that right now, but we want a lot.
Yeah.
So that definitely is a immediate way you can help by going to freeIanNow.org and signing the petition. You can also get all the details. Maybe if you just want to know what exactly happened here.
Yep.
There's frequently asked questions, things like that about the case.
Yeah. All your questions can be answered at freeIanNow.org. And I'm trying to get 10,000 people on it. I think that's a good number to start as far as the petition goes. Right now, we are woefully beneath that. And what I would ask is, after you sign it, share it on your social media, however that might be. See if we can get some people to go. And if you sign, you know what? There's some people in your household that might be able to sign too. Try to get your wife, kids, husband, grandma, grandpa, dad, mom, get them to sign it too. They may not know as much about the case as you do, but that's all right. Their signature will be fine too. Thanks.
You tell them about it.
That's right. Tell them about it. freeiannow.org. I want to tell you real quick about Salt Lending. I've been working with them for some time now, and they're a great organization. Basically, what they do is they take your cryptocurrency and they allow you to access the value within that cryptocurrency without selling. Now, maybe you agree with me. Now is a terrible time to sell your cryptocurrency. We've gone through Bitcoin winter, we're inching our way back up, and it's going to be a good time. Now, I'm not predicting the market. I'm telling you what I think, and you can agree or disagree with me on that. But if you do think that crypto is increasing in value over time, over the course of the next 2 years, don't sell it. Take a loan against it. They've got rates between 8% and 16%, depending on the loan to value of your loan. And I can help walk you through the process, the initial phases, and getting in touch with them. Just send me an email, salt@markedge.org. That's salt@markedge.org, and I'd love to help you.